Oh, hi. I didn't see you there.
Greetings, rovers.
If you're watching this, unfortunately, it means I'm dead. Dead tired of all you parasocial weirdos on the internet causing drama and toxicity for your favorite streamer and causing them to infight between each other. Let's talk about it. So before I get into everything, did you guys know that I'm live right now over on twitch.tv/lolShinya? Yes, I know, it's been a minute since I've been doing content creation, but I'm officially back. Every day at 9 a.m. CST, right before your favorite Baldy goes live. So, I know the drama is a little bit old, but I did want to take a few minutes to talk about the situation that unfolded over the past few weeks between Mr. Pokke and Tectone. I know it's pretty old at this point, right? It's been a few weeks. The dust has sort of settled. And I just wanted to sit down and sort of dissect and really try to understand what exactly happened and wrap everything up in a nice little bow. That way we don't have to have this happen again in the Gotcha space. I feel this was one of those dramas that really hit close to home, considering I consider both Tectone and Mr. Pokke some of my friends. And I feel it's a real shame that the lengths that this entire situation went to. And just the communities that were just basically at each other's throat, and it's just a really unfortunate situation. So I did want to sit down and talk about it. This video is going to be 99% unscripted. I just have some talking points, and I'm really just going to, oh hello Loki, just be talking from the heart, and maybe it won't make sense, maybe it will. We shall see. Alright, so before we get into it, for all you weirdo Twitter warriors and for you Twitch warriors, let's not do it, okay? This one time. I know half of you are already starting to write a Twitch message, write a Twitter message about how I'm going after your favorite streamer. I just want to preface this that I'm not attempting to take any pot shots at anyone. I just think this is a healthy discussion and sort of try to dissect exactly what happened, why it happened, and how we can prevent things like this from happening in the future. So, the main talking point, and one of the biggest issues that I've personally found from this entire situation, is not even necessarily something Mr. Pokke or Tectone did wrong. Sincerely, it all comes down to the parasocial relationships that I feel a lot of Twitch chatters have, and YouTube chatters and YouTube commenters and things like that, Twitter users, etc. They have this very odd parasocial relationship with their streamer or their content creator, that they can do nothing wrong. Their word is law. They are the messiah, basically, when it comes down to it. And I feel obviously that's a very bad take, right? Situations like this shouldn't happen. And I feel like I've talked about this before at length, especially when it comes to in-game characters in video games and things like that. And the unhealthy obsession and putting people on a pedestal, and in this case, real people, just taking their word as law, basically understanding that everything that they say, holding that true to heart. Any little jab or any little rage bait that they go after people, they see that as a flag to really send a full bombardment of hate, and ultimately just saying whatever they can to really dig at these other people, even just making shit up, right? I think that's one of the big issues, is that people just read stuff on the internet. They take everything at face value without really trying to do any sort of research or any sort of critical thinking on their own. People find it very hard nowadays in 2025 to rub some brain cells together and really try to be critical of the things that they ingest and things that they read on the internet. It feels like nowadays you read one Twitter post or one 4chan post and you take literally that as law. I don't know what happened in the last few years. I feel it's gotten bad. Is it just me, or is it as worse as it's ever been? They read one comment, they read one Twitch chat comment, they read one YouTube comment, they read one Twitter post, and all of a sudden the thing that they read is suddenly law in their mind. It happened, there's no further proof, there's no further discussion that's needed. The one thing they read, they take it as law. To piggyback on that, the content creators themselves, I feel a lot of them out there will sort of play into these comments and play into the hate and encourage rage bait and just negative comments towards other content creators. Anyone who's ingested any of my content, I really only go after the people, or really go in hard on the people that are absolute shitheads and absolutely deserve it. 99% of the content creators in the space are absolute wonderful people. They've never done really anything wrong that I know of, or most people will know of. Obviously, everyone's done something wrong, right? So I don't want to paint that light. But when it comes to specifically the people in the content creator space, the vast majority of people just keep their head down. They play the video games. They go, haha, funny, hee hee, I love spending money on gacha games. And that's pretty much it. But one thing I've noticed that Tectone and Mr. Pokke do pretty specifically is they are not afraid to do a little bit of rage baiting. They're not afraid to sort of, say some things that may stir some people up and make, continue to cause arguments. And I don't think there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But I think once it gets to the point where it is throwing an obnoxious amount of hate towards other content creators, that's where it starts to cross a line. Over the past, I'd say 3 to 6 months, specifically talking about Mr. Pokke's chat here, Mr. Pokke's chat and community has just become an abhorrent shithole. It has been some of the most vile, disgusting things that I've ever read on the internet. And me saying that, I already know the Twitter warriors and those keyboard warriors are getting ready to run and defend their streamer, run and defend their community. Take a few minutes and go back and look at any of his past VODs. Go into his Discord and scroll for more than 5 minutes, and you will see just some of the most crazy hate and vitriol that I've ever seen given to any other content creators in the community. I do have some speculations on why that is. It does seem to be centered around the Genshin Impact crowd once Pokke started playing it, and started attracting the Hoyo shills a little bit more towards his content, which is just a shame because I do remember when Tectone was beginning to really lift Mr. Pokke up and really shine a light on his content creation a few years to a year back. His chat was always positive, was always a real great place to be around. And it's definitely a shell of its former self nowadays. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the breaking point is. We can only speculate. I have no significant proof on the matter, but some people may. I don't know. That's not really something for me to talk on because I don't have necessary proof of it. It's all just speculation. Going back to the rage bait conversation, again, I did specifically mention Mr. Pokke and Tectone in regards to the situation because I do feel like those two are the two sort of main players when it comes to rage baiting and just saying some outlandish stuff. Once you start saying outlandish things and once you start sort of, stirring some people up, stirring some people's emotions up on Twitter, you should be ready for some backlash on it. I don't think you can really necessarily play the victim and feel like you're getting bullied all the time once you are making sort of crazy statements and knowingly stirring people's emotions up on Twitter. That just comes with the territory of saying some crazy outlandish stuff. Not only that, when you are a content creator, you are opening yourself up to criticism, and you are opening yourself up to someone reading in between the lines of everything that you say, right? Intent matters when you're speaking on things, not only specifically what you are saying, but the intent of what you're saying, how you are saying it, etc. This hits a little close to home because on a recent gacha cast I did with Tectone when it was going to be the Wizardry cast, when we sort of got off topic a little bit and we started talking about HSR and the casters, global passive, and things like that, I had started, comparing Mr. Pokke to, becoming the new meme. I specifically said, becoming the new mint picker. Those words obviously hurt Mr. Pokke. I didn't realize it in the moment. I was not careful with my words, and I should have been a little bit more careful with my words because I had painted him in a specific light that I didn't necessarily mean him to be painting into. And very shortly after, Mr. Pokke joined, we butted heads a little bit, and then the conversation spiraled out of control. I feel a lot of people, and I feel this is a maturity issue, specifically within the content creator space and the gacha space. Nobody really will take situations, take things that blew up, and really self-reflect on why they blew up, what happened, did I do anything wrong? So specifically this situation, I realized after the fact that I was probably misrepresenting what I was saying. I may have been a little bit of an asshole when saying it, and I went on Twitter and I said, hey, Pokke, I apologize for the way I came off. I didn't intend to come off that way. That wasn't my intention. I'm sorry, right? And the amount of hate and backlash that I got for claiming walking back what I was talking about is absolutely abhorrent. It's actually crazy to me. So I personally really struggle to understand the line of thinking here. I believe I'm pretty good at understanding where people are coming from with most discussions and arguments, but this was one of those few that the amount of hate and backlash that I got for attempting to be the bigger person and realizing that something I did wrong and something I've said wrong and maybe have misrepresented is kind of absurd. That was really a very big eye-opening moment for me. Mr. Pokke understood that my intentions. He understood I didn't have anything wrong with him based on some couple DMs we had. But the community just went after me for seemingly like I was walking back. I was not having a backbone. I was scared of the confrontation. No, I think people need to realize that sometimes you say things and you maybe don't mean them. And I understand that, again, previous back to my talking point, I'm a content creator. My words do hold weight, and I feel I have the emotional maturity to sometimes realize that, and sometimes maybe walk back what I said, maybe apologize, maybe try to settle things. And I feel like a lot of content creators in this space really don't. And it really is such a shame that a lot of content creators in the space have an absolute refusal to take responsibility for the words that they say online. Sometimes you just need to own up to it and admit that you were at fault. Admit that maybe you came off the wrong way. Maybe you used some words. Maybe your intent was good, but you delivered it wrong. A lot of these content creators, I really feel, don't have the maturity to be really publicly facing figures. And that's really such a shame, too, because I feel like a lot of these content creators, and people are going to draw speculations and start trying to name people. Oh, who is he talking about? No, I'm just talking about basically everyone in the content creator space. Emotional maturity is something that is lacking, is severely lacking in the space. And I feel like a lot of people in the content creator space do have some lack of emotional maturity. Literally, pretty much all of them. One specific issue that I've noticed, especially after living in Austin for almost a year now, is that this isn't a gotcha space specific thing either. A lot of these content creators, they blew up pretty young, right? So a lot of these people blew up when they were early 20s, maybe late teens, and fell into a lot of money very quickly without really having to live life in the real world. You know, work a 9-to-5, work a retail, work in fast food, really develop these skills over their life where they had to, sort of harden up, understand what it means to be a human, maybe learn some empathy, maybe learn some sympathy for working in different spaces like this. So I don't want to say it's necessarily their fault, but you would think by the time a lot of these creators are in their mid-20s or late 20s, they would start to realize that, hey, maybe I do have a little bit of a skewed outlook on life, and maybe, they need to start looking internally and realize that sometimes they are the problem. I've noticed that a lot of content creators, specifically the ones that I've mentioned earlier that blew up pretty quickly, they just have a pretty significant ego or air about them. That is it's a little disturbing, right? I've noticed this firsthand on a lot of content creators that I've seen down here in Austin, and it is very obvious if you spent 5 minutes talking to someone who I'm talking about. There's hundreds of them, obviously. I don't want to go in and name names and really get into the weeds, but there are so many people within the content creator space that fit that criteria, and it is really such a shame. And it's very eye-opening and it's quite a shame. The lack of emotional maturity and the lack of just self-awareness that a lot of people in the general content creator sphere have. I do think that's part of the reason why we constantly see all of these blow-ups from all the various content creators, right? Because they don't have that maturity, or they don't have that level of self-realization that they're not these gods that they come off to be, right? You may have 15, 20,000 viewers on Twitch, but at the end of the day, you're still a meat puppet, right? You still are flesh and bone. You still are able to mess up and do things wrong. And a lot of these people just don't think they are, right? They think they're self-righteous. They think they've never made a mistake. They think they can do anything they want because they have money, they have views, and they have fame. When that's not, you should have learned from the Kardashians, man. Like, we've known about this forever. Just look at any significant celebrity or things like that. Like, we've known that people can't get away from drama and can't get away from critique. Why do these Twitch streamers and content creators think any differently? When it boils right down to it, I think to be a successful content creator, you need to have an ego and you need to be a little bit of a narcissist. It is so ironic to me that a lot of these big content creators that are ego and that do have egos and are narcissists, they are the same people that will regularly get one guide in their chat, one guide in their YouTube comments, or even on the flip side of that, they will see one comment on Twitch or one comment on their YouTube channels and also take that at heart and go, oh my God, this is true. I don't need to do any fact checking on this. This one Twitch chatter said it. He must be right. I'm going to run with this and I'm going to use this as a talking point. It's the same thing with headline sensationalism, right? Do you know, I'm sure you guys know a lot of people in your life that they don't read news articles. They read the headline and think they understand every single little thing that was said in that article. I feel like maybe, is that a cause of just basically the people that were raised on the internet, again, these early 20s to maybe late teens, that they never had to sit down and like read a newspaper? Oh man, I'm really showing my age nowadays, huh? Oof, that's a rough one. That's a deep cut. So I think I'm getting a little bit off topic. I think one of the things that we can really take away and learn from this situation is that discussing things publicly, discussing drama specifically publicly, it never ends well. I think we've seen this beat happen time and time and time again, especially when you consider each other friends. I know I even get into this situation a lot, right? I react to something, I react to someone's video, or I react to their live stream, and maybe it's not something I necessarily agree with, but I continue reacting to it, right? If it's someone you consider a friend or someone that you consider close to you, there's no reason except for clout, money, and fame to really do that stuff online. I feel we should all have some emotional maturity and wherewithal, like within our internal selves, to really realize that we're only going to make situations like that worse, especially when you have any sort of following at all, right? Any sort of 50 viewer, 100 viewer Andy watching things unfold and talking about drama, that's only going to make situations worse. Even if you don't think it's going to, right? I personally found myself in this trap within the last few days where I was reacting to some streamers within the spaces as I am. And I was, maybe sort of playing it up a little bit too much on stream and really talking about it and disseminating what they were doing. This was specifically talking about people pulling for Castorus. And I watched it for a little bit too long, and I realized only after the fact that half of my stream was spent talking about this and talking about the drama and just not being happy with it. And one of my good friends approached me afterwards and they said, hey, why did you react for this for so long? Why did you come off a little bit aggro? And in the moment, it's very hard to realize that you're doing this, right? You think nothing of it. It's just content. It's just, just a little bit of drama farming, right? But when in reality, especially someone like me who is, sometimes a 50 to 100 viewer Andy, we are not realizing that those 50 to 100 viewers that are watching are also getting a little bit rabid, right? These are the parasocial viewers, right? These are the people that will also start going after these people, start making negative comments on them. And we all just need to realize that our opinions, our words have weight to them. So we need to be abundantly clear when we are reacting to people, especially people we consider friends. I want to put a big caveat on that one. We should just stop it. We should have these conversations offline and stop trying to turn everything into drama and content. Ironically enough, some of the best conversations and fruitful discussions that I've ever had with content creators have been done offline, away from an audience, and not made a video on. I feel that's when we are all able to be completely honest with each other, completely upfront, and really speak our piece and emotions without fear of how is Twitch chat going to interpret this? Who is going to make a video on this? It's much easier to really speak from specifically the heart and not have to worry about, oh, what is Twitch chat saying? What is YouTube going to say about this? Which is really quite a shame. And I'm learning this the hard way as I sort of get more and more back into content creation about how doing things offline, away from content and away from prying eyes, is going to be more beneficial 99.999% of the time. Unless we're talking about someone we hate and someone that's just objectively bad, then who really cares, right? Make as much content, make as many videos on them as you want. I'm only specifically talking about people that we consider friends and people that we consider like close to, right? So let's tidy everything up and put a big bow on the entire situation. What can we learn from this? You parasocial chatters, you parasocial people who follow your content creators, you guys are weird. You got to stop with the weird comments. You got to stop trying to go after every other content creator that is not your streamer. Content creators, if you're going to rage bait, you got to get ready to take the heat or get out of the kitchen. It just is what it is. Content creators, your words have meaning. Let's be a little bit more careful with the words that we say. Let's mean what we say. Let's be careful what we're posting on Twitter. I myself included. I'm not, trying to throw anyone under the bus saying that. Our words have a lot of weight to them, and I feel like a lot of us in the space that have been doing this for years upon years should know that. I'm going to give myself a pass because I'm basically the best, and I've only been doing content creation again for the past few months, so I get a pass, but you guys that have been doing it for years, you guys don't get a pass. I just want to make sure we're clear on that front. And last but not least, the last thing I talked about, let's just start taking these conversations offline. I truly think that's where we're losing the plot on the vast majority of these dramas that go on in the space, specifically when it comes to, friends and people we consider acquaintances. There's really no reason to turn everything and anything into drama. I know it's rough out there, guys. I know rent is high. I know inflation's going up. I know the tariffs are scary. We're trying to make a bag as much as we can, but ultimately, at the end of the day, let's just treat each other like humans. Let's have a conversation between you and me without having 30,000 people included in the conversation and reading every little bit of their take as well and bringing that into the conversation. Or, don't listen to me and we'll get a really cool Gotcha Wars video out of it. I'll see you next time.